Hello everybody, I would like to share with you an article which has gone out on the NLP for Kids website, and it's called CAMHS Doesn't Work, which is quite a bold statement. So let me rephrase it as CAMHS doesn't work for everyone. The number of children and young people with moderate mental health issues is on the increase, and the supply of service to help overcome these issues just isn't meeting the demand. CAMHS is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service. They are part of the NHS and support children and adolescents and their families who have mental health difficulties, emotional or behavioural problems. CAMHS categorises the severity of mental health issues in tiers, Tier 1 and 2, which relate to challenges such as self-esteem issues, phobias and eating disorders. The more severe end of the spectrum is Tier 4, where mental health issues would include psychosis or mental health problems that require hospitalisation or rehabilitation. There are currently two key problems with CAMHS. The first is that the number of Tier 1 and 2 type problems with children and young people is growing rapidly, and CAMHS cannot keep up with the growth in problems. There is now CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy, offered on the NHS, of course. However, some boroughs are experiencing waiting lists of up to 6 months before a therapist is available. 6 months is a long time to live with a problem for any person, let alone a child who has no sense of timescale. Do you remember always feeling as if Christmas seemed like ages away, but now you're grown up, you can't believe how quickly it arrives? During the time period of waiting for help, for many young people who do not have access to therapy, their problems get worse. The second issue with CAMHS is the one-size-fits-all approach to therapy. Don't get me wrong, I know that within CAMHS there are some amazing practitioners doing some brilliant work, but their approach will not be right for everyone, in the same way that NLP or hypnosis is not suited to everybody. Nor is the help or the therapists offered within CAMHS, but currently it is the only free help available. So this is where we come in. Up until now, NLP for Kids has only ever been able to provide a private service to families that approach us directly. However, having recently attended the Bond Consortium workshop, which is a collection of children's charities, practitioners and people specialising in children and young people's mental health issues, I discovered that not only will CAMHS have to be referring their cases to outside agencies like NLP for Kids, but that they want to. Their workload is too great, and they have some clients that they just can't help because their skills are not suited to that particular child, or there may be just a lack of rapport between the child and the CAMHS therapist that they're working with. Having heard this news at the event, I immediately began to consider how NLP for Kids can become more involved, more actively involved, and become recognised as facilitators to help children and young people with their mental health challenges. As many of the practitioners at the event were Lone Rangers, they were discussing and considering how they could have a greater appeal to commissioners, who would be one of the possible decision makers in granting tender opportunities to practitioners outside of CAMHS. One of the commissioners present at the event mentioned that they look for organisations who have been accepted as members of the Children and Young People's Mental Health Consortium. I, while still at the event, hopped onto Google on my iPhone, Googled the Children and Young People's Mental Health Consortium and took a look at their website. I contacted them whilst I was still in the event and told them about our organisation and what we do, simply inquiring if there was a way in which we may be able to support the work that they do. The Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition are 14 charities with a growing base of supporters passionate about the well-being of the UK's children and young people. Coalitions are a great way for groups of people from different places and organisations to come together to change something. Supporting each other makes us stronger and helps us to achieve what we want, including making the world a better place. The Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition is made up of various children's charities and mental health charities. They are all passionate about improving mental health and well-being for children and young people across the UK. A key part of the work of them is to influence government policy, the decisions that governments make about how hospitals, schools, social services and youth clubs should work. They want these services to work better with you. in a way that feels good for you and meets your needs. Throughout the work of the Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition, charities come together to speak as one on behalf of children and young people's mental health. This was launched in the House of Lords in March 2010, and some of the supporting members today include Comic Relief, Relate, the Department of Health, the Rainbow Children's Trust, the Epilepsy Foundation, and now, of course, NLP for Kids. I'm very proud and privileged to announce that NLP for Kids has been accepted as supporting members of the Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition.